This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, May 12th. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Lewis Center, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, a podcast all about home automation, home technology, the smart home, smart thermostats, Matter's going to matter this week. And
Amazon Alexa, ChatGPT, what else?
We're going to talk about everything, I think. But yeah, Chad is really making me mad right now. I can tell you that. I mean, all right, so if you don't make it to the end of our show, if you're one of the few thousand people that duck out after the intro, I don't know if you know, but this show is fully listener supported, and we have a little script that we read at the end there talking about how you can support the show by heading over to HomeTech.fm/support if you don't know how to support the show. But hey, we also asked for reviews at that point in time, and Gavin asked Chad to give us a review, and Chad was not nice. I do not like Chad GDD. He said, all right, let's talk about the HomeTech Podcast. I have to say, as someone who loves exploring the world of home technology and automation, this podcast falls short of my expectations. First and foremost, you can tell he's carrying it up.
First and foremost, yeah.
The hosts often lack depth and expertise in topics they discuss. I mean, we know this is old because we talk about YAML every week, and it's frustrating to listen to. He says, a podcast that claims to be about home technology only to find that the host barely scratched the surface on the subject matter. They often provide vague surface level information without delving into the technical details or offering any real insights. Man, brutal. So if you'd like to, give us a better review than Chad, head on over to iTunes and drop one in the bucket there. We could really use it.
Yeah, just bringing down the self-esteem, man. Jeez.
The AIs hate us.
AI is not nice to us.
And it's funny because I think all of us pretty much say please after we talk to it. That's, hey, Amazon, can you do this, please? And hey, Google, can you do this, please? But it's rude. It just ripped us apart, and I don't like it.
And this review, that was only paragraph 1 of a 10-paragraph essay. So
yeah, that goes way.
We don't have a long enough show to cover it all. But I just want to point out that this is based on information from 2019 and before. So we weren't on the show at this time. So
wow, yeah.
Maybe ChatGPT 4 will give better reviews.
Maybe it will. Yeah. It says here the production quality of the podcast is another letdown. There are noticeable audio issues, inconsistent volume levels, and the occasional background noise that can be distracting for listeners. Man, it's just brutal. I don't remember any background noises.
I feel like this is probably
maybe
the problem with this AI stuff though, is that they probably use the same script for any podcast you ask about. Because nothing on here is very generic, or it's all very generic. None of it's very podcast specific. So, you
don't think it's because I don't ask please. I don't say please too.
I think it is. Gavin and I both say please, and you never do. So, you need to start being nicer to your robot overlords.
Yeah, I guess get some better reviews. But yeah, whatever.
There's gonna be a silver alert for you one day.
We did look up and use the silver what do you call it? The geriatric way of finding things. We used Google, and we were able to look up some better reviews for us, and we found this one: the 15 best home automation podcasts for 2023.
Yes.
And we're number one, baby, number one HomeTech podcast.
You don't need to read anybody else. We're number one.
We're beating out those other podcasts we don't talk about.
The other podcasts, there are actually really good ones here on the list too, but we're number one, so that's what matters.
And honestly, I think Seth owns this website too. So.
Yeah.
That's the reason we're number one.
Yeah, too good. I have to check. I actually haven't heard of some of these, but I'm going to have to check them out now. So
there's a lot more than I honestly thought of. I know, I think I knew 3 or 4 on the list. So.
Oh, I know more than 3 or 4, but yeah, there's.
Well, I guess probably listen to.
But there are 3 and 4. Do you have to really listen to them after number 1?
I mean, not really.
Yeah, exactly.
If it only gets worse from us, I mean, I don't even listen to us. So I guess I probably should listen to the other ones too.
You're one of those 2,000 that turn off the show after the first minute.
Oh, there's my voice. I'm done.
Yeah,
you're allergic to your own voice. All right, well, I'm out. Well, if you normally tune out here, we'll thanks for listening. We're hoping to get your nice rating. But
join us again next week for the intro.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week. But guys, we have a couple of headlines in here. What do you say we take a look at these HomeTech headlines.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, AI is in the news. Amazon, I guess, is planning to upgrade its Alexa voice assistant with advanced features similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT. I'm calling him Chad. It's not Chad to me. Anyway, according to an internal memo obtained by the Business Insider, the company aims to make Alexa more intelligent and responsive, with users feeling as though the device is thinking instead of simply retrieving information from a database. An Amazon spokesperson told Business Insider that the company is planning to develop a new AI technology to power the device called Alexa Teaching Model, which is a generative AI that will use large language models to provide more personalized, accurate, and proactive responses to users' queries. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it's always good to get a little upgrade in the old person in a can that you talk to. I guess I'll have to start saying please to these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Siri, I don't have to say please to. Siri, I just say, you're
take
so
my
dumb.
command.
Siri won't even understand it when you say please, so don't worry about it, like
exactly.
But this is the type of change I expect from these things, like I expected them to be doing this over the years, making them act like ChatGPT. I hope Amazon's going to do more than just make it pause and say, let me think about that.
That's my favorite feature. I don't want to get rid of that.
Yeah, exactly. As long as they can turn it off, but I really hope it. Do you think they're actually working with the OpenAI people to implement this? Or are they going to be generating something of their own?
I would think they'd do their own.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know if they'd make their own at this point, just because they're already losing money, right? So they're going to lose even more money making their own AI system and then kill off Alexa altogether here soon. I think they're probably just partnering up.
The way Amazon works is all the bits and pieces that are behind the scenes are all built into AWS. So they'll just have a large language model thing that they open up for development, and anybody can use it. But it'll be what primarily feeds into Alexa, right? So it'll just be something that appears on AWS as a service, I'm sure, one of these days.
Yeah, well, that's pretty nice. I welcome it for voice assistants because talking to I have Google at my house, and a lot of times it tells me stuff I don't need to know. And I feel like AI could do a better job of that, not telling me useless stuff. Or it understands after I've asked it to turn off the bathroom light 20,000 times that there's two lights in there and it can turn both of them off.
What does it tell you that you don't need to know? I'm kind of curious as to what you mean by that. Is it awkward?
Well, it's just always giving me tips and tricks and stuff. It's oh, you don't have to tell me this, or you could say this instead. And it's I don't care, Google. Just do what I asked.
Okay.
And my biggest annoyance right now is I have two smart bulbs in the bathroom. And if I say turn off bathroom lights, it'll be oh, sorry, those devices aren't set up yet. But if I say turn off bathroom light, it says turning off bathroom lights. And it's just we don't need that. You already know what I'm talking about. I say it every single day, many times a day. Just figure it out.
And you haven't learned that it's not going to work? You say it every day?
Well, because, I'm a creature of habit, Captain.
I'm just waiting for the day I can program my own voice in there. And when somebody I don't want to talk to is on the phone, I can lay my phone next to it and they can talk to it,
Ooh, that'd be nice.
I could get out of conversations like that, just say, yeah, okay. And then put it next to the chat with my voice on it and let it go to town. And then when the conversation's done, I could say, summarize the conversation for me. And it would tell me what the important stuff I need to know.
You're like that person would call you all the time. You'd have to keep talking to him.
Yeah, they could talk to my ChatGPT.
Gavin really gives me good conversation every time I call him. I need to call him more often.
That's Gavin AI. He's got 5-star reviews on Google.
Yeah, I thought it was telling you awkward things, things that you just didn't want to know, too much information, medical advice that it's saying, got this thing growing on me. I'm not sure what it is.
I'm stuck in a box.
Help me.
Exactly. Well, I guess I will say these things have gotten better over time, right? Like Gavin, you said, I expect them to do this. So yeah, this is the next step, right? But over time, they have gotten better. Now the companies have made them a little bit worse by putting in ads and, oh, did you know you could ask me about shopping on the Amazon website or something like that? There's all those things that they've added in, but it definitely got better from the very first thing. There was all sorts of tweaks and tricks that they added in that you would have to basically, it would figure out what we were talking about. And now it'll be more of a natural language conversation you'll be able to yell out. We've equated this to like the command prompt, like when we started with the computers. And if you're like Gavin and I, you probably still use these. But like you go in there and you have to type copy a file, like you have to type COPY. It has to be exact. It has to be, lowercase or whatever. There are little flags that you have to put on. Those have to be exact. The path has to be exact. And that's like the generation 1. Like generation 2, okay, now you have a GUI and you can like click and here and copy it over there. And then you can take your mouse and drag it. There's generation 3. And anyway, that's the idea. Like you said, Gavin, it is iterative. It is the next step, and hopefully they'll do right with this. I think everybody's going to be doing this in the future, except Siri. Siri's definitely not going to do this. Like they'll be like, "Oh, it's private. It doesn't know anything." It's because it's stupid and it doesn't do anything either.
But you know what? Their whole presentation would be like, "Look how natural this sentence sounds. How it flows off the tongue, and we could say it in so many different voices."
Yeah, and that's also one thing that they've added in over time was different languages and different, like being able to parse out different accents and that kind of thing within languages. So I think the bringing the language in has gotten a lot better, and this is just going to make the processing and like figuring out what you're talking about a lot better, and maybe even executing home commands and that kind of thing. It would be nice. I think this is going to be a good step forward overall.
Totally agree.
And we've got a couple of updates for YoLink. They sent an email out that's crafted as well as their website. But I'm not going to hate. It's really actually cool products. Like this is really cool. This is the LoRa stuff that Gavin you've been playing around with.
Yeah.
And they've got some new stuff hitting maybe soon. Maybe there's a new Valve controller 2 out that's got a bunch of new stuff on it. But I don't know. What were you interested in this email? What do you see that's coming out that looks interesting?
They announced that they'll have a new hub. The hub will the thing with
2 new hubs.
Yeah, multiple hubs. But one of the things they mentioned with the hub is Matter support for the hub, which means local control through the hub, right? Which is good because currently they're all cloud based. So if they're coming out with Matter, that means integration with things like Home Assistant should be much better and you wouldn't need the cloud for it. So I'm looking forward to that, see where that goes. But yeah, you mentioned they have a Valve controller, they have a new camera, and they have a water depth sensor. I was trying to figure out how that water depth sensor works. It uses pressure to determine the depth of the water, I guess. But it's interesting. It's one of those niche products.
Yeah.
That, like you'll probably find a use for, or you'll come up with something, and it's nice to have those out there. But YoLink uses the LoRaWAN, so when it comes to range and stuff like that, it's great. I have a couple of their products, and they just work great.
These get used in strange places that you wouldn't even think. Like, so I know one of these tank sensor things, like where you can, the one I'm thinking of, you actually cut a hole in the top of the tank, and you put this thing in, and it uses like sound to determine how low or high the water is. It's a good idea. But it has a long range. I don't think it's Wi-Fi. It's like a low gigahertz or low megahertz frequency that it uses to transmit back to a base station. And that in turn can go into an automation system or whatever. Anyway, those things are used all the time on farms because out in the fields, the cows need water and you don't want the cows to go thirsty. So if the tank is low, you need to like turn on the pump or make sure the pump's working and that kind of thing. So these little devices like this find their way into applications like that, and especially if it's got LoRa on there. I mean, that's going to broadcast for a long way before the signal is going to drop off. So that's really cool.
YoLink is kind of like the Wise of the true smart home, right? I mean, they're coming out with these really great smart home devices, and they're all relatively affordable. I mean, they got a couple new cameras coming out. They've got that water sensor that you were talking about. They got a new outdoor siren, 130 decibel siren for $120. So just some really cool products and really a little bit of everything. You could probably outfit a whole house with YoLink stuff at this point.
I actually sent a suggestion for soil sensors, so we'll see.
Ooh, that would actually be a really good one.
Yeah,
honestly.
because the distance, usually those are outside your house. You want the distance, the range, and this would be a great use for it.
That'd be genius.
Yeah, the long range float sensor thing says it will run. Oh, actually, it's the outdoor alarm controller that TJ was talking about. It has the siren for 130 decibels, but it runs on batteries. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
4C batteries for 5 years.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Yeah, cool products.
Yeah, I like mine. I only have the outdoor motion sensor right now, and that thing works great.
All right, well, we'll have to keep an eye on these guys. They're always coming out with fun stuff. There's a comment in here about their cameras using something called Halo Wi-Fi.
Halo
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
HALO.
Oh, that was from
Wi-Fi.
I was reading about that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but I guess it's a Wi-Fi Alliance certified thing. Sub 1 gigahertz operation. It goes long range, approximately 1 kilometer. It penetrates through walls at that level 2. It's got latest Wi-Fi security. It basically is Wi-Fi, slower speed probably, but seems kind of interesting. It's going to be slower than like the slowest Wi-Fi that you can get right now. Like it's slower than Wi-Fi 4, but it doesn't need to be fast. It's transfer sensor data. So as long as it can transfer for a long way and go through walls, it's great for devices like what they're selling for even cameras. Like you can send video over slow Wi-Fi just fine. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of that and how they're able to get into this. They really are doing some innovative stuff over there.
Yeah, you don't need you don't need like a lot of bandwidth for home automation. You kind of need some fast, make sure the signal gets fast, because if you have sensors and stuff, contact sensors, you kind of want them to act fast sometimes. But they don't send a lot of data. It's like bytes of data. Say, hey, I'm open or I'm closed, and that's pretty much it. A little background communication.
Right.
So that would be perfect.
Well, what I like about these two is that they're not ugly. I mean, they look like just normal sensors and stuff. I think some of these cheaper devices tend to sacrifice on aesthetics, and these aren't going to win any awards or anything like that, but they're also not hideous. So that's another bonus to me.
They seem like they know what they're doing too with the connectors that have like outdoor quality, like locking connectors and that kind of thing. It's like, maybe they know how to design a product. That's pretty cool. I keep clicking links and finding more cool stuff to look at on their website. So I've got to stop and get on with the show. All right.
It's not the prettiest website.
No, not the prettiest website.
Yeah, the website is not good.
But it's definitely one of those places that like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? That's a great idea.
Yeah, like if you just went to their website without hearing our podcast or from somebody else, you'd be like, I'm not buying anything from this company.
It's actually gotten better, I think.
Yeah, I think 6 months ago or something, it was really awful.
Yeah, no, it actually looks a lot better.
The show.
Yeah.
They need a Mastodon presence, So if they're listening, HomeTech.social, join the Mastodon server.
Nah, this is cool stuff. Well, like I said, we'll have to keep an eye on them. There's a picture of a refrigerator with popsicles all over the place. It's great, and there's a melted popsicle under the refrigerator. Oh, beautiful.
Is that the loss prevention one? One of them was saying about loss prevention.
It's actually called Featured Application Protect Your Popsicles. Smart temperature sensors from Yolink can prevent the loss of refrigerated items. And it's just, let me just post this picture over in our Slack. Say what you will, it's definitely on point. There you go. So, all right. Enough of this. We'll just keep clicking things and laughing about stuff, but then also thinking, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. Because, Yolink, check them out if you need some weird outdoor sensor or refrigerator sensor to protect your popsicles. Pretty good stuff. All right, let's move on to our new segment, Who's Mattering This Week? And of course, Who's Mattering This Week is Google, with the Google I.O. announcement and the big Google Home app reveal. Google I.O. was this week. They announced a bunch of cool looking products. Pixel tablet, which we'll have to talk about later. A phone that folds up, I guess. That's something people want. And I guess did they have a new phone too? A Pixel phone that didn't fold? That didn't cost $1,800 or something like that? I don't know. I don't really pay too much attention to those, but they did come out with some home app updates. They've actually been teasing this new UI for a while. So that they're launching. It's actually out now. So if you go to your Google device and update the home app, you'll get the nice new, beautiful. I mean, it looks really nice. It looks like Gavin made it. I will say, it's very well done. And they've also announced a Wear OS home app for your watch. Has launches in May 15th. So they've kind of announced it's in preview right now, but it's got a bunch of new features with previews for cameras, notifications, risk control, like better risk controls basically on your watch for different devices. They have a little animated GIF on their website with like changing the temperature and light levels and that kind of thing. So not a bad idea. If you can do that from your watch, that's a good deal. I guess people are kind of, I don't know, talking about some of the legacy Nest cameras not being ported over just yet, but only the Nest Cam Indoor and Nest Cam Outdoor first generation models are getting full integration with the new app starting later in July. But they're hoping to, it sounds like they're hoping to bring more of those cameras in, just not the drop cams. Those are gone. And then an updated version of the Home app for tablets is coming in June with support for portrait orientation, which we'll have to talk about this Pixel tablet later because it's getting this little home panel hub mode thing that basically turns into like a hub, a touchscreen for your house when you have it docked. So that's kind of cool. And anyway, that's pretty much the new UI looks pretty good. It's got a favorite section that you can basically add any device in your entire house into. I thought this was interesting. They added motion sensors as a trigger, but currently only sensors from Philips Hue are supported, and contact sensors aren't supported at all. So I think they kind of missed something there. But anyway, big updates on the app. The camera live viewing a camera is 38% faster, so that's really good. And downloading clips or viewing previously stored clips is 29% faster. So big UI update. Looks nice and pretty, faster loading cameras and doorbell video and all that good stuff. I think it's a win. It looks like a really nice product.
Yeah, nice and clean. And I like that you can set up your favorites tab so you can have whatever you want on there. You know, like I think I've had this one for a little while now, but I have basically like 5 devices in the house that I control all the time. And that's what I have on my favorites tab. And it's great because I just open it up and they're right there. I don't have to search for them or anything.
It took them long enough. Didn't they promised this from like last year, I guess, and now it's finally out, but not all of it. There's still stuff coming. Well, that's the thing with Google is they seem to take a long time with their stuff. Like the next update will probably be 2 years away, right? You know, unlike Amazon where they update all the time, but you never know about it until somebody else mentions, "Hey, did you know this is here?" Right? Like. I feel like it's like they'll just update when they get to it, and that's one of the reasons why I won't. The contact sensor thing you mentioned was a little upsetting. You know, if I was in that ecosystem, I'd be a little upset that I can't use that. But
it does seem like a miss. Nice. Like
it does,
yeah.
And it's a basic miss to me, right? Like this should be like a basic thing in every home automation platform,
right?
I don't know what the challenge is there, but. You know, at least it looks nice.
It's a contact sensor. It's really hard, Gavin. I mean,
on or off,
right?
Like open, close, true, false. However you want.
You're going too fast.
Slow down. I got to take these notes down for you. Hold on.
Yes, no, 1, 0. You know, call me if you need any more.
Well, it does look like a nice update. I just loaded mine on my little tablet here. And well, maybe this isn't the new one. No, this isn't the new one. This is the old one.
No, because I think it's still rolling out.
Yep, tablets come later on. What I say, in July, I think, or June, I think is what I said. Anyway, there is a new Pixel tablet, which is interesting because Pixel tablet hasn't been around for a while. They teased this thing about a year ago, but it's an 11-inch. 2560 by 1600 pixel LCD display. Comes in 3 colors: white, dark green, and light pink. And looks like it's made really nicely. The videos and mock-ups they had of it look really great. It comes bundled in a box with a magnetic speaker dock that works as a charger. You walk in and set it on there. But then it has a louder speaker built into it. That are better than the speakers built into the tablet. And when you're playing music or watching video on the tablet, you just put it down on the dock. It transfers right over to the audio on the dock speaker, and you've got like a docked version of your tablet. And yeah, I mean that's a brilliant feature. Like, where's that been, iPad? Like that should have been on the iPad like 10 years ago. Like that's what most people would want. Just walk in, set it down in your kitchen. It's charging now, and it becomes like a home dock, I guess. where you can sit there and turns into a digital picture frame, and starts showing things. It's a great idea. I don't know why no one else has really done this. The other devices that have come out have been like, they've had the stand attached. You can have a tablet, or you can have this dock thing, a Google Home dock, but you can't have both. Now you get both.
You need to take somebody from that team and put them on the other team so that we can have contact sensors as triggers. Like they designed something so good, but we can't have contact sensors.
The hardware is honestly knocked out of the park. Like, it's beautiful looking.
Yeah. And honestly, like, this is one of those devices that you kind of sit back and you realize that like professional and DIY automation is getting closer and closer together, right? Because if you wanted this in the professional space, you'd have to permanently mount a tablet, a touchscreen on the wall, or you'd have to get like an iPad and do one of those iPort things. And by the time you do the iPad and a little iPort setup thing, you're at $800 or $1,000 easily. And this thing is half the price. It works as an actual tablet, so you can just pull it off and use it. You can cast to it. You can watch YouTube, all the normal stuff that you could with like an Android tablet. So this is a pretty appealing device to me. I don't know if I'm going to get one because I don't know if I can justify the $500 for it, but I could see myself buying this, and I could see myself enjoying this and using it. And, it's just another device that sits around. We have one of the Google Home display speaker things in our kitchen right now, and I like it for the most part. If you ask it to show you some recipes or something like that. I don't think we can cast to it though, which would be super helpful. So if like we're watching a recipe on like YouTube or something like that, we can, just throw it up on display. And like, that's kind of the most appealing thing to me, right? Is because this would probably be in the kitchen where we want access to like recipes and timers and stuff like that. And, you could just take it off the dock and take it with you to the couch while you wait for it. And then when it's done, you just bring it back and you plop it on there and you're good to go.
The one thing I see about this, and Seth, as the owner of a kid, you probably, as the father to a child, you'll probably agree with this, but do you see yourself fighting with your child over this tablet when you want to control something in the house and she wants to watch YouTube videos or something on it?
That
right?
Could very well happen.
Where's the
just because it's like so easy. Yeah. TJ, you mentioned like this is kind of like the cross between the home and the pro market, or the DIY and pro markets, I guess. But like Control4 has had kind of this product out they had it out for a while. It was called the T3 series touchscreen, and it had like a tabletop stand. Now there was no speaker in the dock, like didn't have that, completely devoid of any features that this thing actually has. But I want to say, and I'm trying to like Google search on what the prices were back then, but I want to say the 10-inch touchscreen, which would have been on par with this, was like $1,200.
Oh yeah.
So all it did was run an ancient 2012 version of Android, and run one app, Control4. That was it. You plugged it in, and that's all it would do. But this looks like a massive upgrade. Plus, it's an actual tablet that you can actually run other apps on, and the Control4 app. Like, it'd be a great Control4 touchscreen, I think.
Yeah, well, and that's the nice thing. It's a full Android tablet, so you can run whatever you wanted on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you're a professional installer and you sell Control4 or Crestron or whatever else, then you have a nice go-to dock now.
Yeah, $500, not $1,200 or $1,400 or whatever these things were. I'm just kind of like looking around online because it's the previous generation. I think they're up to T4 now, but I don't. The one I have sitting right over there is a T3. Again, it has speakers on it. I don't think that I've ever heard them work or been able to play any audio out of them. But if I did, it sounded awful.
They're probably high quality. No, the speakers on this thing look like they're pretty nice, for a tablet, I guess.
It's good stuff.
Tablet dock.
I wish there was more. Like, I wish that there was a way that a company like Control4 Crestron could like OEM that kind of device from Google, like somebody who's putting something like together that way. But it's a dream, because then they would have access to the high quality, super fast hardware where we could use them on projects and that kind of thing. It would be great. So anyway, that's that. I think we talked about the tablet enough. It's getting madder. I don't have to play the music the whole time we talked about it, but Matter's coming.
It's gonna matter.
Yeah. I guess technically we'll save it next week because maybe there's an Apple update that comes out that's giving Apple Matter too. So this week Google matters. Next week probably Apple is going to matter. So we'll talk about it next week.
Last week Amazon mattered.
They're just trading the bottle. They're just like, you drink, then you drink. Just going around. All right. All the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found on our show notes over at HomeTech.fm/435. We do have something in the mailbag, a little bit of listener feedback from listener Josh. He says, just started listening to a podcast recently and I love the content. Not like Chad.
Somebody likes us.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. He said, I would love your thoughts on the Reolink line of cameras and now doorbell. I've got their PoE cameras and PoE doorbell, which work flawlessly. He says, I look forward to continuing to listen and learning how to integrate with more of the things you discuss into my quickly improving smart home. Yes, we will help you spend that money, Josh. So Reolink, Gavin, I think, don't you use Reolink, right?
No, I use Foscam and
Foscam,
yeah, the main reason why is because they had so many different types of cameras. They covered pretty much everything. You want floodlight cam, you want doorbell cam, you want it indoor cam, outdoor cam. That's the main reason.
Wow. I have experience with Reolink in the past. I've installed some of the cameras. I've installed some of the video doorbells. I don't think I've ever seen this PoE video doorbell. And I'm kind of surprised nobody else makes anything like this. It's literally just a PoE doorbell, but you can plug it into an NVR just like you would a normal security camera. And that's a genius idea. And it's $100 with a $10 off coupon right now. So that's very affordable for a PoE doorbell. Usually those ones are, $200 to $500 depending on what brand you buy and everything like that. And they may not even be like true PoE, where this one is true PoE. They have some kind of like dongle or something like Doorbird has.
I've heard a lot of good things, like watching video reviews. I've heard a lot of good things about these Reolink cameras. One that got a lot of hype is the Duo. It's basically like has two cameras facing like to the side, so it gives you a wider field of view, and it makes sense because you can see your whole front with this one camera, and it kind of overlays the images and makes it one image. So that one's really cool. I like a lot of the cameras they have, and like I said, people have talked really well about them. And then every now and then you get that one person that just hates on them for some reason. They're just constantly running into issues with them. But I don't have anything bad to say about them. I haven't really seen any reviews that really tore them apart. But like certain camera brands, you can go for the cheapest one that they have to the most expensive one that they have and still have a totally different experience with the same brand. So keep that in mind too when you're spending your money. Spend more of the money to get a better experience.
Spend more.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is that Reolink has a nice direct integration with Home Assistant. So if you're running Home Assistant, you can integrate it without any kind of issues.
Or you can do Blue Iris or Frigate or stuff like that. I think they all have they have streams and stuff too, so you can get more power with that, right? So it's pretty good line of cameras.
They seem like I have a pretty good reputation for making a decent quality camera. Yeah, I'm looking at that dual floodlight, man. It's got the dual cameras that you can see two different directions. I've been trying to figure out how to, I don't want to run two cameras to the edge of my house and one look one way and one look the other. And I've been trying to figure out how to have something that has like a wide enough angle lens to catch what's going down that side of the house and this side of the house and maybe in between. And it's almost there. But then at the same time, like if you get a fisheye lens, like the resolution, like right underneath it's fine, but on the edges, garbage. So I'm hoping somebody figures that out. They probably won't because they just want me to buy two cameras. But I'm looking.
Yeah.
If there's anything out there, let me know.
Yeah, that dual floodlight camera you were just mentioning does look really nice too. $190 PoE as well. Usually when you get into these cheap cameras, you either sacrifice on the camera quality itself, or a lot of them are Wi-Fi or anything like that. So it's kind of nice to see a bunch of PoE devices coming out from this company.
And when you're looking at cameras, I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel that I follow called The Hookup, right? And he does a lot of reviews of these cameras, but he goes really in depth. And what I like about his reviews is he'll even cover things like at night. when the IR is on, and then he'll go outside and he'll run across the screen and show you the differences between the different cameras and why one's better than the other at night and how it tracks the motion and stuff like that. So if you ever want to look for like, a really good camera, he'll tell you some of the specs to look for too. The length of the lens or whatever. He breaks it all down so you can compare the cameras and see if what you're getting is good. So that's the hookup on YouTube. Check him out. I really like his videos for this type of stuff.
I've thought about doing those kind of like YouTube videos because I have access to a lot of cameras sometimes, and I've turns out there's a lot in my house for some random reason they're just not installed. But I've seen how those guys do that, where they like have a piece of plywood with a bunch of cameras mounted to it. Like that's not gonna fly here.
Wife isn't gonna like that.
Yeah.
No.
Wife and the HOA.
His neighbor must think he's really
gosh.
paranoid.
Like 20 cameras mounted to a piece of plywood stuck up on the side of his house.
All looking at the same spot.
Yeah. But his videos are great though. Like I highly recommend them.
Yeah. If you've come across a good camera review guy, keep them. I know that what was that? I can't remember the name of the website, IPMV or whatever it is. It's a news website for the camera industry. They have done really good reviews on cameras in the past, but they changed their, like we used to pay for their subscription model and it was like $300 a year for like a login or something. And they changed it and you don't really get like the reports or anything. You have to pay like $1,500 a month or something for them. It's like, man, I want those reviews, but off to YouTube I go now. So anyway, pick of the week this week. And this is kind of, apropos to what we were talking about earlier and my Siri not working and everybody else saying please and thank you. But it's a 4-panel comic that we ran across on Mastodon. It says there's this guy talking to his Google Hub here. He says, hey there, Google, play us some music, please. And then the next guy over says, why are you being so polite? And then the first guy says, just in case. And then the last screen is I think what Gavin fears the most. There's a bunch of robots taking over the world, and they're pulling the guy there that was just being nice, and he says, keep that one alive. He always said please. That one's Gavin, and the guy in the pink shirt's me.
See, that's why I'm always nice to my tech. You have Clippy outside cutting the lawn and all the heat, and you don't even bring him a drink or anything like that. Oh man, he'll remember.
No, I dig holes. So he trips and falls into him, and I laugh and I take a picture.
Wow.
So I was
Clippy's drunk.
I was digging a hole for a pole thing that I was going to put in for I was going to install this rack for a canoe, and Clippy just decided to drive into it, and I get a notification on my phone that Clippy is turned over, and I'm like, how did he get turned over? Like it's a flat lawn mostly, but if he got turned over, something's like he's fallen into the creek or something. And so I went out looking for him, went around the house, I finally found him, and he's there just like dunked right into this hole that I had dug. And I had put stuff around it where he wouldn't get there, but I guess like he had bumped into those rocks or whatever enough times that they fell in the hole too. And so the next time he came around, boop, right in he went, just perfectly fit, little wheels sticking up in the air, spinning around. This is a sad day for Clippy. They're not very smart is kind of where I'm going with this. And Gavin, I don't think you've anything to worry about.
Wow. Jeez. Just called your robot not smart too. That's messed up.
Yeah, this is why Chad's not giving me good ratings. All right. Well, if you have any feedback, questions, comments, or, nice, reviews for the show, anything, it's picks of the week, anything, just give us a shout. Email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, we got some updates on the topic from last week about the soil moisture sensors Gavin has been playing around with. Gavin, have you bought more of these things? What's going on? What are you doing?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit more research, bought a few more. One of the things I learned is, there's two types of this moisture sensors, right? Resistive and capacitive. And one thing people have been complaining about is with the resistive types, they corrode, over time, and they break down. And people have actually said that they had like an automation on them, and it broke the automation, caused some flooding, stuff like that. So be careful when you do those type of things. The capacitive ones seem to be they don't fall to that. You know, they're more reliable. They also give better readings apparently. So, you know, like that was one thing I kept in mind. So my Tuya, so, you know, just to cover off the ones I had, my Tuya soil moisture sensor I had out there, the battery was draining fast. The battery went from 100% to 60% in like a week, and it's been sitting at 60% since. So I don't know what's going on. It's still reporting, but it's just sitting there. But the reporting too, it's like I barely see it fluctuate with the moisture, so I don't know if it's even reporting properly. So it's sitting there in my lawn, probably because my dog peed on it at some point, you know, or he's constantly peeing on it, so it's always going to be that moist. But
it's always,
yeah. So I still don't recommend it. My EcoWit soil moisture sensor, however, the one that runs over the radio frequency that I use my SDR dongle to pick up, I really like that thing. It's been great. It reports in every 70 seconds. It has a red flashing light. I covered up with a piece of tape. That's fine. You know, it has great range. I'm happy with it. I actually ordered 3 more.
Of the EcoWit or another version?
Yeah, of the EcoWit, the same one. The reason I liked it too is because the ones we have in North America, they're in the 900 megahertz range, which is also the same range as my water meter.
Okay.
Right. So with one SDR, it was picking up the EcoWit and my water meter. So that was great. Plus my neighbor's water meter, plus tire pressure sensors, plus people driving by. It's amazing when you throw an antenna out there, what you pick up out there. I have security systems showing up on it, reporting in. So no, I highly recommend them. And those are capacitive. So it gave me great readings. I could see when it rains, the moisture goes up. And then over time, I'm seeing it drop down slow. So it's working. It's just giving me a relative measurement. That's all I need to know. You know, is it too dry? Then I can just water my lawn a bit more, right? And that's what I'm looking for. So highly recommend those. I picked up a rain point soil moisture sensor. That one I was kind of interested in because, yeah, it's a resistive one, but it also is flat on the ground. So I was kind of like, hey, that's cool because then I can just mow over it. I don't have to worry about pulling it out when I'm mowing the lawn, right? However, there's 2 versions of those. They call them Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Even though they're Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, they actually still use the radio frequency, but they had to be reverse engineered to get them to integrate with Home Assistant. So it's the one I got was what they call the Wi-Fi one. They didn't reverse engineer that one yet. They did the Bluetooth one. They have that one working. So I'll keep it for now and just see, you know, if they figure that out. I can see on GitHub they're working on it, right? So those are the 3 I have. I was talking to Jimmy today in the hub, and he did mention the spruce irrigation, the moisture sensors, and those I've been trying to get my hands on for a long time, and they've always shown as unavailable to me on Amazon, right? He says, no, they are available. So it looks like when you go to Amazon from the US, they show it as available to you guys. But if I'm going to Amazon, it's showing as unavailable, even though I'm going to Amazon.com. So it's a little Amazon trick that I did not realize. So I might have to get somebody to order one for me and send it over, you know, via regular mail so I can get my hands on it, you know, for the IT support I gave pre-show, maybe.
Somebody maybe in Ohio.
Yeah, maybe in Ohio, you know, who knows? But yeah, those look really cool. They're Zigbee based. They work with Habitat, Smart Things, all the big hubs. And they also lay flat on the ground, which is kind of important because, again, when you're mowing the lawn, you can run over them. Yes. You know, so those look pretty good too. They're also capacitive, so they won't rust and stuff like that too. So one day maybe I'll get one of those.
The resistive look like they're the ones that have like the spikes. And so I'm guessing resistive means that they're measuring the water or the resistance between the 2 spikes or 3 spikes. And then the other one, capacitive, I don't know. Those just have 1 spike that you slam into the ground, right?
Don't ask me how they work. I just know they don't corrode and they don't falter. Yeah.
Magic.
I don't know how it's going to measure it. Yeah, it's just magic. There's a chip on there, it does something, you know. And usually you'll see 3 spikes. The 3rd spike's usually for like a soil temperature too, I think. So it does, some of them do soil temperature, but I really like the EcoWit ones. I've bought a few of them. And they all have their own ID. So when they report into the SDR, it picks them up in MQTT as different IDs. And then that just pulls it right into Home Assistant from there. So it works really well. Really happy with those.
Thanks.
Where you are, do you have to worry about the temperature range? It says -10 Celsius, so I don't know what that is. That's got to be cold.
Well, these aren't things I'll leave in all year round either, right?
Oh, okay.
So come fall, I'd pull them out of the lawn because at that point the grass is going to go dormant anyway, and I'm not watering it, right? And then I'd put them back in the spring. So I wouldn't have them in at -10.
I don't think I'd want to pull them out, but I'm lazy, so.
I think I'd have to have them in year round, but yeah, I'm lazy too.
I wish they would just make them flat so you don't have to. You could just mow and not worry about mowing, breaking them, right? But right now my grass is higher than they are, so I got to mow it soon.
Pretty cool. Yeah, there's so many options in this soil. Like you came up with like 2 or 3 last time. I'm like, man, that's crazy. That's got to be the end of it. Nope, he keeps finding them, keeps trying to buy them.
Oh no, that's not the end of it. You could get into like, my requirements. I wanted something battery powered. I didn't want to run wires where people were suggesting all these ESP versions you have to find power for and stuff. I started actually going down the LoRa path too at one point. So there were LoRa sensors and stuff like that. They give you long range. You could get a cheap LoRa hub. You can integrate it, and each sensor was $150. And I had to draw the line there. At some point I said, no, this is getting ridiculous. Now I went from a $20 sensor to a $150 sensor. I got to draw the line, especially when the $20 sensor works just fine.
Oh yeah, look at these things. $120 for a LoRaWAN soil moisture sensor. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's industrial looking though. Wow, look at that.
And they have some of them are battery powered too, so you don't have to find power. Again, you mentioned farms.
Yeah.
Farmers use them to measure, the moisture in their fields, and they don't have power running out to these fields.
I think I'm definitely on an IoT farm site right now. It looks like they have different markets, but they definitely do smart ag, and they've got crop monitoring, livestock monitoring. They even have a leaf moisture sensor here, which I've never seen before, but it looks like a leaf. And
leaf moisture.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a farmer and you need the data, this is one way to get it. Wow. There's a lot of stuff. It's $100 for that. So
whenever I look at these tech sites dedicated to farmers, it totally blows what I think farmers are doing out all the time. I think they're just out there, taking care of the farm, pushing the cattle around. But no, they got the technology. Like their trucks are more advanced than my car.
And they drive themselves. They're out in a field, but they can plow the whole field without even having anybody at the driver or behind the wheel or whatever. It's kind of cool. They've got a radiation sensor here. I mean, for like solar radiation, indoor, outdoor, water leak or water detectors and that kind of thing. Lots of stuff on this website. That's kind of cool. Another website that I'm just going to get lost in.
Stop clicking, Seth. Stop clicking.
I know. It was a vibration sensor, a temperature and humidity sensor.
No.
Wow. Okay, it just keeps going. Yeah. There's no end to this.
There's a lot of those sensors when it comes to the like the commercial industry. You'll find a lot of that is out there that we don't have. But it's expensive too, right? It starts to build up.
Yeah. I was just looking at this one. It's a water pressure sensor, right? And it's like, oh, that'd be nice to have like on a pool pump or something like that. $140, nice.
It might be worth it. What site's that?
It's called Chovio. I don't know. I'll send it to you.
Chuvio.
It's definitely a more industrial looking website than what we were looking at before.
Ooh.
Check them out.
Oh, nice. On my pool pump.
It's IP67 rated.
Ooh, I hope so, because it's, water.
It's going to get water too.
It's going to get wet at some point.
It's going to get wet on either end. Who knows?
I was looking for a way to measure my pool pump pressure. So
it's battery powered. Just needs an antenna slapped on top. Good to go.
Damn it.
Gavin spends the money. All right, moving on here. Not only have you been using Chad over there to write nasty reviews about great podcasts that people love listening to, but you have been using it to help you program YAML in Home Assistant, because YAML is virtually impossible for anybody to understand or use. So what was your experience with that?
No, this was my first time. I was banging my head on, I was trying to make a sensor and I was trying to do it in YAML. And it's so very specific, what I was trying to do. Like it's not a generic thing. It was like using an API call to update a sensor. It was just, I didn't think it would actually pull anything out. So once I found the way to ask it, and that's what I found is like you have to know how to ask it, because it threw a bunch of generic answers at me. But when it finally asked the right question, it actually gave me a response that had, led me in the direction. It wasn't perfect, but it was like, oh, that's how it's done. And once it did that, I was just blown away. Like this thing, like spit out the YAML, showed me what it was that I had to do, and from there I was able to get my thing working. I spent 3 hours on this before I even signed up to ask chat. It was like a last ditch effort. It was like I'm about to give up. Let me just ask this thing and see what it gives me. And I was shocked. So if you're working in Home Assistant, you can actually ask it to spit out code for you if you need, and it will do it. It will do the YAML for you and give it to you, and you just got to know what to ask it exactly.
Yeah, and you have to kind of like hit it to keep it in line too. So about the same time, I had noticed, I logged into our Works Amazon, and I was looking at one of our databases, and I noticed I had like 14 million rows worth of data in there. It's probably not right considering how much should be in there, which isn't that much. And what I found out was that I had accidentally set a timestamp in milliseconds rather than seconds. And so that timestamp was when it was supposed to be deleted, which, basically probably sometime in the next 1,000 years, it would be deleted rather than anytime soon. It was still a valid timestamp, but it just, nothing was getting deleted when it was supposed to. And so I was like, oh, I have to edit every one of these rows and basically divide by, 1,000 and then, put it back. And it's not something like you want to do often. The way Amazon prices their database, it's like it's read and write operations cost you money. So I was like trying to figure out how to do it with a quick script or whatever. And I was like, kind of the same thought. I'm like, what? It was also late. Like it was also like 1 a.m. or something like that. It was very late, maybe 2 a.m. And I was like, you know what? I'll go ask Chad. And I asked him, and he gave me kind of what I thought, I needed to write. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, you need to use this function instead of basically iterating over, you could write 25 of them at a time. I was just like, let's do less API calls, less money. He was like, okay, yeah, here's that. And I was like, okay, cool. That's what I need. But he had like stubbed in all the variables with his own variables or whatever. And I was like, all right, let's work on replacing all those so I don't have to think. And I did that, but at some point he changed the code back to the previous version, and I didn't notice it was calling the old API. So I set it up to run, and I was watching it, and I'm like, oh, there it goes. It's doing its thing. And I could check and verify that it was working and everything. Everything was working fine. I also did it in staging rather than production. Like I checked it first. Okay. I'm not crazy, but it ran on my computer for, let's see, I probably went to bed. I think it was like 4 or 5 hours before it stopped, and it modified all 14 million rows or whatever. And now there's only 3 million in there. So that's good.
It's amazing. Like we look at this, I think it's like a last ditch effort. It's like, I give up. Let me ask this thing. But now it's kind of like, maybe I should ask it first or second. Earlier on in my wasted day, I should have consulted with it, right? Like to give you an example, what I asked it to do, and if you're a Home Assistant person, you'll probably get this, but I asked it, create a Home Assistant RESTful notification that will update an input text entity using the service's API. Like it was that specific that I got with it. And I was really shocked that it spit this out, like how I wanted it. Like I may have to use it more often.
What I liked about it was that I could use it for, I didn't have to think. Like I didn't really have to write code. I knew what I needed to do, but my brain was just not into it at that time at night. But I was like, I could have waited till the next morning, but I was up and I was going to do it anyway. So it did it quick enough where I was like, oh, okay, I can just test this real fast and I can run it. And it worked. So I guess overall, I will give Chad a better review than he gave me, and say, it's a helpful hand. It would have been nice, it still cost a few $100s to run that API, for 5 hours, but it would have been nice to have used the one that actually modified more than one row at a time. But no, whatever. It's all done.
And after it gave me the answers, I made sure to tell it thank you too. I hope you told it thank
what
you.
a nice guy.
I always tell things thank you.
I'm pretty sure I just closed the window.
So that bastard left me.
Yeah, I don't know if it worked. Is he going to tell me it worked?
Yeah, it's sitting there wondering, did that really work? I wonder if he caught the bug.
Yeah. No, it was nice to use, nice to have at my disposal, I guess. And it definitely, I would have probably waited to the next day to do it, just to make sure that I wasn't screwing up things. But like, I was confident enough in like what it had written that I was like, oh, okay, that's what I would have done. And there it is. It proves me right. Like, that's what I did. And I'll take it. So use the Chad to GPT. I think you can actually, one of my coworkers was like, hey, I want to go to, I don't know, San Diego, California on a trip or something. Can you make me a 7-day itinerary? And boom, like it spit it out, like of all good stuff. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do with that silly thing.
Yeah, it's not going to save you just because you're so rude to it anyway.
Thanks,
one time
Chad.
doesn't make up for all the bad times. So.
Yeah, you gotta make it a habit.
Yeah,
I'm going for that divide by zero error. So if I can make the computer divide by zero, how many times did he think zero? Oh, and he fails. So then I save the world that way. See, Gavin? See?
Okay.
All right. Well, we do want to give a big thank you to everyone else who supports the show, not you, Chad, but especially those who are able to support the show financially through our Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page, head over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out here on the show, but every pledge gets you an automated invite to our private /chat, the hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day and see pictures of Gavin's beautiful green grass. I mean, wow, that's beautiful, Gavin. Good job.
It only looks good from certain angles, and it's springtime, so I'm not going to be showing any pictures of it come summertime. It starts to get brown, though. That's the shaded area, so it kind of stays a little cooler over there.
That's nice. Very, very, very nice. So, thank you. I don't even see the red blinky lights anymore because you covered them up, but it's pretty. If you want to help out the show but can't support financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. That wraps up another week of HomeTech news here on HomeTech. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Grumpy TJ. See, this is why the robots are going to kill you.
Why am I grumpy? Just because I didn't say anything? Jeez. You got 1 million edited audio files of me. Just throw it in there.
I'm not a robot.
Yeah, you are. If anybody's a robot, it's definitely
one day you'll be able to say, edit the show for me.
Yeah.
And then we'll do it for you.
That sounds like a lot of science mumbo jumbo. I don't choose to believe this.
One of the local home inspectors here posted an Instagram video of him checking out a roof, and there was a bullet in the roof. And he was like, PSA, don't shoot your guns up in the sky because the bullets come back down and they might land in somebody's house.
How far can a bullet travel, actually? How far can a bullet travel?
Not that far. Jeez, man.
Hold on a sec. I'm asking chat. The distance depends on various factors. All right. What's a bullet size? How?
Type in 45 millimeter.
Ask him if the toilet water goes around the other way.
How far can a 45 millimeter bullet travel? Only 100 yards?
I was gonna say, I don't think bullets really travel that far.
I thought they traveled far.
100 yards far.
Yeah.
No.
Seems like a long way.
I don't know what that is in freedom units, but
300 feet.
That's what it is.
91 meters.
Okay, stop. It's getting worse.
Here we go. I'll send you guys the imperial measures charts.
No, we don't need to see that. We got ChatGPT, and the A lady.
Well, ask him how many shaft mints that is.
How many what? Shaftmans is
Shaft mint, MENT.
shaft.
Poppy seed.
There's 2 shaft mints in a foot and 3 foot in a yard.
Okay,
So-
all this is made up already. I'm seeing poppy seed and barley corn. Those aren't real.
Oh no, that's real. Yeah. It's a poppy seed is 1 line, which is 6 points and 20 twips.
Did ChatGPT make this up for you?
No, it's real.
How
It's a real
many shaftmans in 100 yards?
Like they put the metric units on the side, like anybody's going to use that shit.
I don't like it.
A shaftman is an archaic unit of measurement used for cloth. Typically, a measure around 6 inches, blah, 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 100 yards,
Well,
6 feet.
The last I checked, yards cloth is measured in yards. So
If you are referring to fathoms instead, there are 55 fathoms in 100 yards.
how many furlongs? How many Gunter's chains?
Yeah.
Oh, the nautical mile.
What is a Gunther switch?
I mean, that seems legit. That's like the only one on there that seems like it's real.
Yeah, not a mile, which comes from a cable.
I mean, obviously. I don't know why you're saying that. Like, I wouldn't know it.
It's 3 leagues. Square in the middle of being a kilometer ish.